Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Tamam.
Ma no, ma non c'era niente qui. Queste sono avvelenate, qui sono state avvelenate. Non solo a poso, ma sono state avvelenate.
Quando andavano giù hanno schiumato il buche.
Sai perché possono fare anche di puntiere?
Ah, va per il mio lì che è, via.
Sì. E fa un gruppo d'amore. Mi viene a piangere.
È andato in là Marco.
В зв'язку з тим, що падає рівень води, виявлені водні біоресурси, а саме риба карась.
Ось такі, друзі мої, масштаби.
will stop, sorry. We will stop, sorry.
On Hawaii Island, Kilauea volcano began erupting at about 4:44 this morning. Here to tell us more about what's going on and what we might be able to expect, USGS Hawaiian Volcano Observatory scientist in charge, Ken Hahn. Mr. Hahn, nice to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning. I look a little frightening this large on the screen there.
No, you don't. You're actually kind of like a little calm for us, because if we're talking to you, we get the information accurately, precisely, and you tell us exactly what to expect and maybe kind of what not to expect. So let's get right to it. 4:44 a.m. it started erupting. What else can you tell us?
Well, this is going to be kind of a repeat of the summit eruptions that we've had recently, starting in 2020, right? And this looks like it could be one of the larger ones. It's already, the new lava has already covered completely the floor of Halemaumau crater, and is still going strong. We expect this really high effusion rate part of the eruption to last for a day or two, and then it should kind of calm down and go back to somewhat lower effusion rates. But it's really spectacular right now. There's red lava all over the floor of the crater. We don't expect it to have any impact outside of Halemaumau crater at all. And we've been sort of waiting. The conditions on Kilauea have been pretty much prime for the eruption to restart. It's been 5 months since the last eruption began in January 5th, and it ended in mid-February, really, or early March. And the summit of Kilauea has continued to inflate. And last night, starting around 10, we started to get flurries of earthquakes, which really intensified around 3:40 this morning. And that's when we upped our alert level from yellow to orange. And then at 4:44, it was followed with lava coming out right in the middle of Halemaumau.
Now, Ken, first of all, you said the situation was prime for it to start. What do you mean by that? What made it prime?
Well, what we've seen is over the last month or so that the summit of Kilauea has continued to inflate. And so the inflation levels were higher than anything we've seen in the last 2 years or so. So it has been, we could tell that magma was being stored there. And then we were starting to get certain characteristic earthquakes, and the number of earthquakes really picked up beneath the summit as well. And so we were just sort of waiting for conditions to get to where the volcano would erupt. So we've been kind of waiting and expecting this for a couple of weeks right now.
So you have been monitoring it and watching it for weeks now, because it seemed like, whoa, this morning the warning level and the aviation levels were changed, and then all of a sudden there's activity and there's an eruption.
Yeah, we don't get much, we're in a new phase of life since 2018 where we're not getting days of warning. So the same thing with all these summit eruptions and the Mauna Loa eruption, we really only get about an hour worth of real warning before the eruption takes place to where we can say confidently there's going to be an eruption.
Now, we know that Mother Nature is unpredictable, but you don't believe that this will, I guess, exceed the crater, that it will stay within Halemaumau crater?
Yeah, I think this is just part of the sequence of events that we're seeing, refilling the old collapse, right, that happened in 2018. And we've already filled it almost 1,000 feet of the collapse crater that occurred in 2018 has been filled up with lava. And this certainly looks like it's going to continue that. We expect it to, it's going to be very visible from the viewpoints within the park. And we actually expect, if this eruption continues to go on, to get up to the next level and start flowing over the next level of down-drop blocks in the within Kilauea caldera.
Okay, and before we let you go, if people are just joining us, please let us know again how long they can expect Kilauea to erupt, and also if you want to let them know, should they be concerned? And also, we didn't talk about air quality as well.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be the biggest concern right now, is the start of these eruptions, because lava's been stored, have a lot of lava coming out, and hence a lot of volcanic gas. We have pretty much normal trade wind conditions right now, so that means that most of this gas is going to blow to the south to the people in Pahala and Nalehu and over in Ocean View around the south end of the island. So they're probably in for a couple of days of pretty high VOG, and then VOG levels are going to return to normal. And I wish I could tell you how long the eruption will continue for. But that's one thing that it's very hard for us to predict. We're much better at looking at the onset eruptions than when they're going to end. But we would guess if it's typical of these others, it can last for several months.
All right, several months, but right now, residents not being impacted in terms of it coming anywhere close to near a structure or anything.
Right. There's no threat to any infrastructure within the park, and certainly not any infrastructure, any personal property outside the park. We did, however, just get finished with that large seismic survey that we had 2,000 seismometers placed over the summit of Kilauea, and we picked up most of them within the caldera. We left some down there just to record if an eruption started. So we actually have an extra about 100 seismometers down in the caldera right now, which should be really interesting. We won't be able to look at that data for probably 6 months or a year, but we should have a lot of data on the start of this eruption.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that data, Ken Hahn, and we look forward to speaking with you again, hopefully in a little bit. Thank you so much for joining us so early this morning.
No problem, thank you.
The state of California wants the parents of the children who started a wildfire in Jamul to pay more than $500,000.
Tonight, CBS 8's Jasmine Ramirez shares more about this new lawsuit and talked with people in the community about who they say should be responsible.
The wildfire started when the family was on a camping trip. Now the parents are being asked to pay more than $675,000 for the cost to fight the fire and the damage it caused. The Skyline fire burned 100 acres in June of 2020. Here you can see flames approach people's property as crews worked to put out the blaze.
It was bad. Yeah, I mean, because they shut the four corners off. Nobody could go through. It was pretty bad.
I actually know people who had their house burned down when that happened and lost a lot of property. And they had a farm out there, so they lost a lot of revenue with their farm as well.
The state says the blaze was ignited by children playing with a campfire and that the parents negligently supervised them. Now the parents are being asked to pay.
I think the parents should be responsible for it. Yeah, that's my thought.
The state also says it wasn't the first fire the kids started. The lawsuit alleges 3 days prior that one or both of the kids started a fire by playing with sticks from the family's campfire.
You had your actions and there are consequences for them. So, you know, there's pros and cons to every side of the story, but I think it is good that people are being held accountable for those kinds of things.
I think that sets a precedent that's not going to be it's not going to be good for the state and for this area.
But the state says the parents had the ability to better monitor their children and could have prevented the Skyline fire from happening. Jasmine Ramirez, CBS 8.
Tonight, we are also keeping an eye on an air quality alert. Wildfires in Canada have led to hazy sky in the area and have prompted an air quality alert right here in the region. Action News reporter Aliana Gomez following this. She has the latest now and a closer look at the concerns.
It's definitely hazy out.
Another day of hazy skies and poor air quality, all from drifting smoke from more than 160 forest fires burning right now in Quebec.
That smoke that's coming down from Canada is making things a little bit difficult for our folks to see.
Air quality alerts are in effect for upper and lower Bucks counties, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, and Philadelphia counties as well. That alert stretches across the Delaware Valley to include Delaware and New Jersey, which means the air can be potentially harmful for sensitive groups like children, the elderly, and people with breathing issues.
We also have a ban on all open burning today in New Jersey. That means no fires for recreational purposes, campfires, bonfires, things like that.
A red flag warning is now in place for much of the area, which means no outdoor flames. Just last week, 2 fires broke out in Burlington County, scorching forest land and sending people seeking shelter. The cause of those fires remains under investigation.
Most wildfires in New Jersey are started by people, whether accidentally or intentionally. So the public can play a huge role here in being mindful and cautious about disposing of ash, preparing their homes for wildfires, cleaning out their gutters.
And we're told there are about 60 fire trucks on standby in New Jersey, across the state, waiting for any pop-up fires or wildfires to break out so they can respond accordingly. That red flag warning, we're told, is in place through tomorrow. At the Belmont Plateau, Aliana Gomez, Channel 6 Action News.
Close call. This South Carolina man walking in the rain when a lightning bolt struck just feet from him. You can see the bolt hit the ground, causing the man to jump back. He threw his umbrella down, then quickly picked it back up and ran off. He says he felt the shock, but is just thankful not to have any major injuries. This, though, what a close call.
He's so close.
Oh, my God.
Wow, that's crazy. That had to be crazy.
Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Click the ABC7 logo to subscribe to our Eyewitness News
And
YouTube
if you're
channel.
outside for just a moment and then you're outside for the entire day or just walking around and you're working outside,
right,
you may be healthy, and it's this quality, air quality, that's gotten to the point where it's hazardous for everyone, not just people with upper respiratory problems, not just the elderly or the kids. This is pretty much affecting everyone in some way, especially if you're out there for a period of time.
And Craig, look at the shot on the lower right-hand side of your screen.
It's red.
This is...
And it's 1:35 p.m. on the East Coast.
This is the most red that we have seen the New York City skyline this entire day.
That's no filter.
There's not a filter. You're looking at the Empire State Building in the distance. This looks like a horror film.
That's so scary.
It is.
It's just one of those things where you just don't want to be outside at all. Closing the windows, making sure you're not running the AC if it's a window unit. You can run your natural AC if it's not the window unit. Clean out the filters once this is passed. But this is the type of event, 1:30 in the afternoon. This is not a sunset, and you can't see the buildings behind. You can barely make out the silhouette of the Empire State Building.
And so, and again, if you're wondering, why is it red? Why is it orange?
Right.
It is physics, folks. That's all it is. And so what's happening is that when we have kind of that fine particulate matter in the atmosphere, what happens is that essentially we're filtering out the colors with the shorter wavelengths. So think blues, greens. And what's left behind, the colors actually are able to kind of reach our eyeballs. Red and orange. The longer the wavelengths, that's all we can see. And that's why it appears just so orange and red out there. And it's so thick. And unfortunately, it's only expected to get worse for other locations. We were talking a little while ago with Fox Weather's Katie Burns. She's live for us in Philly. And exactly what we're dealing with right now here in New York City, we know that's on the way for Philly and some of the surrounding areas.
It's scary. Also, you're looking at the current air quality map. And look at this. You've got, if you look at the banner right below where it says current air quality, there are 6 levels. Now we're seeing the purple, very unhealthy, and the hazardous levels. Hazardous levels means that's affecting everyone no matter what. Even if you're the healthiest person, you run a marathon, you feel great. No. And then to get to the very unhealthy also could have an effect on you, even if you are healthy.
I'm Amy Freeze. Welcome to Fox Weather's YouTube page. We have more great videos on the way, so make sure to subscribe to stay updated on all things weather.
One wildfire is contained while another continues burning out of control in eastern Canada. Officials in Nova Scotia say that this fire northwest of Halifax is not expected to grow, but it isn't fully extinguished either. Broke out a week ago, forcing 16,000 people to evacuate while destroying 200 structures, including 151 homes. Fire crews say long-awaited rains helped control the burn. The flames are still raging in Shelburne County, covering more than 150 square miles and so far destroying at least 50.
Thank you for joining us for Midday. I'm Jillian Smuckler.
And I'm Sarah Murphy. Brian Carlson is on assignment today.
We begin this hour with a warning to stay away from Bridal Veil Falls. There's a lot of avalanche debris in the area right now, and it's pretty dangerous. That's why UDOT crews are setting off explosives in the area to clear all the snow. ABC4's Kayla Baggerly joins us live in Provo Canyon. And Kayla, I understand people are just ignoring the warnings and heading in anyways.
Yeah, Julian, and officials are advising that people don't do that because the area is dangerous. Now, moments ago, we heard a loud boom as they set off an explosive to clear up the debris. You can see the aftermath of that here. Over the river, there was an ice and snow bridge, which has since been cleared out, but you can see there is still quite a bit of debris left, so they're advising that people stay away. Crews today have been working to clear the ice, snow, and debris left behind by an avalanche at Bridal Veil Falls in January. The avalanche was around 30 feet deep and months later is still leaving its mark. The area has been closed since, but Sergeant Spencer Cannon with the Utah County Sheriff's Office says that doesn't stop everyone. He says some people have been coming through and climbing on the avalanche deposit, or in one case, even going through a hole in the ice into the river. He says these actions are extremely dangerous.
There are gates that are closed with signs. There is caution tape that has been put up. There is an electronic signboard down here that says that it's closed because of hazards. Those hazards are real.
Sergeant Cannon says that the water right now is rushing high and moving at about 15 miles per hour. He cautions against climbing on the avalanche deposit, as it may not be as secure as you think and you could slip through. He says until the area opens up in about a month or two, it's best to stay away for your own safety. Now, if you do want to enjoy the beautiful view of Bridal Veil Falls, you can still do so, but from a distance. Officials recommend that you go to the overlook off of the parking lot off of Highway 189 to do so. Reporting live from Provo Canyon, Kayla Baggerly, ABC4
violence
News.
Across the state, some cases ending deadly. News4JAX reporter Marilyn Parker is speaking with community members and attorneys about what to do when there are disputes with neighbors.
It was at this house where police say a man put a gun to a woman's head and threatened to kill her because a car backed into his driveway, then pulled right back out. And then you have this situation out of Marion County that actually turned deadly. People in this neighborhood say these neighbor disputes are atrocious. And I spoke with attorneys who say it's because nowadays people value their property over human lives.
Driver, open your window!
People keep pulling guns, like this road rage incident in Palm Coast Monday. It ends with an arrest. Flagler County Sheriff deputies say 50-year-old Brian Stanley pointed this gun at a driver through his passenger window.
There's one in the tube.
The victim told police Stanley tried to run them off the road. He's charged with aggravated assault, also in Palm Coast. Home surveillance from May 27th shows 60-year-old Terry Vesh put a gun to a woman's head. He threatens to kill her over a car backing into his driveway.
Oh my gosh.
We showed the video to J.W. Gilmore. He says he's spoken to Vesh before and says he never thought he'd see this from his neighbors.
It's getting to be extreme nowadays anyway.
Vesh was arrested and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Why do you think people are resulting to just pulling guns now?
I think it's a function of the culture in which we live in Florida, where gun possession is kind of encouraged by our government. You only threaten human life when life is at stake or great bodily harm is at stake.
Defense attorney Richard Brown says self-defense probably won't work in the first two cases, but will be a major part in a case out of Marion County.
I wish our shooter would have called us instead of taking actions into her own hands.
58-year-old Susan Lawrence was charged with manslaughter in the death of 35-year-old Ajika Owens. Reports say Lawrence yelled at, swung an umbrella, and threw a pair of skates at Owens' children who were playing outside. A witness told police Owens was banging on Lawrence's front door, telling her to come outside. Then Lawrence shot Owens through the door, saying Owens was trying to break in.
It's all going to come down to, can you shoot somebody through a door if you reasonably believe that you are under a threat of death or great bodily harm?
What are neighbors' legal options if they have a problem with their neighbor?
There are trespass warnings against people going on your property. You can get restraining orders if it rises to that level. You can call police and make reports about things that are happening. But using a weapon or using deadly force against one of your neighbors should be your last resort.
Brown says these three cases could become more common with the state's new gun laws. Because of this, neighbors like Gilmore say
I don't need to walk my dogs in this neighborhood.
They'll be keeping to themselves. In Palm Coast, Marilyn Parker, Channel 4, the local station.
Seattle's Smith Cove is home to fishing vessels, cruise ships, cargo traffic, and now tons of oyster shells, plus eelgrass and kelp put in place by the Port of Seattle.
It's really important here in Puget Sound because as our water chemistry changes related to changing climate, Puget Sound in particular is quite vulnerable to what's called ocean acidification.
Today, researchers with the port and its partners began measuring how the oyster shells have been growing, gathering data to examine ways to trap carbon, reduce ocean acidification, and improve water quality.
We've learned a lot over the past few years about enhancement and restoration of these ecosystems.
A lot of people know healthy forests store carbon in tree leaves and branches. Scientists call that green carbon. NOAA says blue carbon is the same idea in the ocean. Eelgrass is known to capture carbon, so the port worked to restore eelgrass beds. Kelp is also believed to absorb it, so they tried planting more of it here. And oysters are filter feeders, contributing to blue carbon infrastructure.
It could tell us that, there are ways that potentially on a localized level that we could potentially buffer some of these effects of ocean acidification.
While individual restoration projects wouldn't change ocean chemistry as a whole, there are hopes techniques could be used in other bodies of water to create refuges for marine life throughout Puget Sound. In Seattle, Erica Zucco,
Governor
K5
Hochul
News.
and Mayor Adams say that they will make masks available tomorrow to keep New Yorkers safe. CBS 2's Allie Bauman live outside the Javits Center on Manhattan's west side. Allie?
Christine, tomorrow morning, 1,000,095 masks will be distributed to state facilities like the Javits Center here for New Yorkers to pick up. The governor says New Yorkers should be wearing a mask if they absolutely must go outside at least through tomorrow. But the general recommendation is to just stay indoors. The haze over New York's skyline has not let up today, turning a bright orange at times, an eerie sight we're not used to in the tri-state area. The air quality index over the city hit 484 this afternoon, more than 800 times the normal level. To encourage people to stay indoors, all outdoor city-sponsored events are canceled, beaches are closed, and alternate side parking is suspended tomorrow. Health officials say this air is dangerous for even the most healthy New Yorkers.
This is an unpredictable series of events, and we cannot provide guidance more than a day in advance at this point. As a result, we are encouraging New Yorkers to stay home indoors tonight and tomorrow whenever possible.
And the governor says with fires in Canada still raging out of control, New York should prepare for more smoke from Canada, as well as prepare for our own wildfires in the state because the air is so incredibly dry. We're live outside the Javits Center on Manhattan's west side. Allie Bauman, CBS 2 News.
All right, Allie, thank you.
We have new information tonight on the deaths of 2 whales found off the coasts of New York and New Jersey. One of the whales was brought to the shore on Thursday in Hampton Bay, Southampton. On the same day, another whale was found dead in the Raritan Bay. Necropsy results now show they both died of blunt and sharp force trauma that is consistent with vessel strikes.